We're now going to be talking electronic media, Twitter, good or bad, and various other forms of communication. Konstantinos Varsis runs a company called JCon out of London and is an expert on the subject. He's in our London studios. Kostas, good evening to you.
Good evening, Richard. Good evening, Andy. It's very nice to be here.
Good evening, Kostas.
It's very nice of you to join us. Before we talk about this subject in general, please, I always say this to guests when we venture into areas such as this, tell us why it is you are involved in the electronic media. How did you find your way into this world?
There is no way to be involved in technology and not being well aware of the implications that the internet can have in our lives.
Twitter. It's the one we've come to know and love, I suppose, hate in Andy's case, in recent years. Has Twitter been good or bad for the world of sport?
Well, it depends how you handle it. If you follow some general rules that apply to society in general, then you'll do good. If you are short-tempered and you do not think before you post, then you're in big trouble, as many footballers and clubs have been in the past. The rules are simple. Twitter is a website, part of the social media, so that is instant and international. There is one thing that most people don't really realize, that once something goes on the internet, it can never ever go away. Even if you post something and make it and delete it after 1 minute or several seconds, it will make a copy of itself technically in thousands of different computers around the world, even if no one has interacted with that content. So it's much different than traditional media. Once something is out there, it's there for good. You cannot deny it afterwards or say it never happened, I never post that.
Do you think we've got better at it? Is that why people are perhaps not making as many headlines as they once were?
In regard to football, there is more education from clubs to footballers, and there have been many cases of negative incidents occurring due to mishandling of tweets. So many people have learned their lessons, and other footballers have learned the lessons of others, fortunately for them.
What is the case for being on Twitter?
Now, for the first time in history, with the rise of social media, the fans can directly communicate with the footballer and receive a response to their questions. And it gives them a sense of proximity. It's a good way to keep in contact and feel they are part of the game, they're part of the club, because they are really contributing towards that. They must be placed into the family of the football club.
What is the case then against being on Twitter, against being involved in the social media? What are the dangers?
With the advent of technology, now that all social media have been integrated into our smartphones, it's very easy not to realize that placing a tweet is not a personal response to someone, but it's a phrase that can reach millions of people internationally.
What else is out there that the boys in general have embraced?
I would suggest for them not to tweet until a few hours after a game. Otherwise, it's more likely that their tweets would be more honest than sensible. So, and especially they shouldn't refer on controversial moments of the game or fellow teammates or opposing players, the fan, the manager, or anyone for that matter.
Have football clubs in general made themselves busier in the electronic media?
Yes, a lot. And they do encourage the footballers to be more engaged on the social media. However, they should enforce some form of guidelines. Most of the clubs encourage footballers to engage themselves in all types of social media unless they do something that would be harming the club, which is a very generic description of what they should do. And basically what they say is we will leave it towards the footballer's best judgment, which is not best in many times. It's not very useful broadcasting to the world that you have been all night drinking, gambling or clubbing, posting pictures of such activities. And also, you don't need to say to people where you live or giving out personal information like your bank details. That is, if you don't have money to burn.
Where's it going? Because it's not going to be put back in the bottle, is it?
No, no. Actually, there is a very interesting statistic that about 25 million people in the UK nowadays are regularly engaged with football, more than ever before. So football in the past 5 years is becoming more and more popular. The social media, on the other hand, is becoming more popular on a rapid rate. And when we have about 35% of the world's population having access to the internet, and this keeps getting increased as we go along, even in underdeveloped countries. It's a medium that is instant and will have great appeal everywhere in the world. Now, where we're heading, the future tells us that social media will be very prevalent. And there are some statistics that say that they will be integrated with wearable technology. So whatever you do, every aspect of your life will be online one way or the other. Of course, that raises...
Whether you're involved in the electronic media voluntarily or not?
The best protection is education. Knowing how to set up the right filters, know how to set up the privacy settings in your social media accounts, etc. But speaking of other ways to protect yourself, and having mentioned privacy, a big issue that appears nowadays is hacking. And
yes, we're aware of that, funnily enough.
Yes, and what is the most basic means of protection is setting up a secure password, which is a simple concept, but most people think that they will never remember it and find all kinds of excuses and ultimately expose themselves into a risk which they have not realized how detrimental it can be, not only to their reputation, but to their lives in general.
It's a murky world, but your advice is just be careful, and you don't see any way this is now subsiding. It's only going to get bigger as we progress. We will be steady as we go. Thank you for your words of wisdom and the warning as well, and we will be fascinated henceforth over the next hour to see reaction to what you've been saying. Do please get in touch at Richard A.J. Keys. We'll take a break, and when we come back after the news, we're going to be talking about concussion.